So, Leon, so your full name is Leon Mann.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, again, welcome to Tama's podcast. So, I'd like you to take me back. When did your uh, career as a journalist started? When did you begin?
Wow. So I started in journalism, having worked for the Kick Racism Out football campaign, the Kick It Out campaign, as it's known now. The slogan was Kick Racism Out football when I was part of the campaign. But I started working for the BBC, having been the media officer for the Kick It Out campaign. And moved to the BBC in 2007, right at the end of 2007. So it was a really interesting time to move to the BBC because that was the Olympic year when the Olympics 2008 were in Beijing, China. It was a really exciting time. I was moving there as a 27-year-old. So I wasn't a young person. I was a young person, but not very, very young. So I know I needed to really focus on what I wanted to achieve at the BBC. I went there with a good contact book because a lot of footballers had become contacts because they wanted to do things around anti-racism in football. So I joined the BBC. I was writing for the Voice newspaper. Thank you to Rodney Hines for the opportunity. And from there, I managed to push on and do some things that I'm very proud of.
That's fantastic. And when did when did you launch Refresh Sports, Bcoms, and Football Blacklist? So one by one, when did you came up with these ideas?
Yeah, so when I went to the BBC, I noticed that there was a lack of diversity within the workforce, and also an appetite from many of the progressive bosses that were there at the time to do something about it. So the campaigner in me, because I'd been a campaigner in my first job at Kick It Out, had never left me. So
Mhm.
I decided, right, well, why don't we bring together all the sports journalists from Black and Asian backgrounds, particularly Black African Caribbean backgrounds at the time, and hear what the experience was, hear what the ideas were to get more diversity because there wasn't much diversity and there still isn't enough diversity in sports broadcasting and writing, and just create a community really was part of the ambition. So I called some meetings, got some people together with bosses across the industry who wanted to hear and learn more about how we could become more diverse and the reasons for that and methods we could take actions around. And that was the beginning of Bcoms, the Black Collective of Media and Sport. And it wasn't just me, there were many, many other Black sports journalists who were involved in that. And today we're a really well respected not for profit group with partnerships with groups, ranging from News UK to Nike to the BBC to ITV Sport. We've got some brilliant partnerships in place that we're really proud to be working with progressive leaders to make sure we're doing as much as we can to support people in this industry and particularly help newcomers, young newcomers who come from diverse backgrounds, both into the industry and when they're in the industry, help them there as well as best as we can. So no, I'm really proud of the work there. Around the same time, I wanted to create something around celebrating Black leaders in football.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
myself, Hines, the sports editor of the Voice newspaper, I pitched an idea to him for an article, and that idea for the article turned into a great spread showing Black leaders in the game, but then actually became something much bigger than a spread in a newspaper. It became a movement where we would invite people to come together to celebrate those leaders. And now, 15 years later, we have a partnership with the Premier League. We also have a partnership with the FA, where we celebrate people in a list called the Football Blacklist, highlight
Yeah.
excellent Black people working in the game of African and Caribbean heritage. Um, and then we have a big celebration, which is held in London, celebrating the people on that list. But then we go up and down the country to to different communities where there are black communities there, and we celebrate those people in partnership with the FA. So
Yeah.
we're doing some really interesting things, and what we're trying to do is to just kind of make sure that opportunities are genuinely in front of all communities, specifically the black community through this initiative, but all communities really, to make sure that we are helping to diversify football. Because while in the men's game, 43% of the Premier League are black players, you know, if you look at the coaches and managers, we have very few. I know we have and Nuno Espirito in the Premier League, and we have other black managers, but not very many. If you look at the boardroom, there are very few black representatives. There is a black board member at Brentford, Deji Davis. He is the only black board member across all the Premier League clubs. But things are, you know, beginning to improve in terms of having these conversations and trying to change things. And hopefully the blacklist has been a catalyst for some of those conversations and helped, alongside the work of campaigns like Kick It Out, Show Race and Red Card, and many of the others. Black Footballers Partnership are doing a lot of really interesting and important work to be able to progress things. And Refresh Sports is my commercial company. Refresh Sports is a consultancy and production company where essentially we deliver events, we deliver productions, we advise senior leaders in the industry. We do many, many different things to help our sports industry become a better industry. We represent talent, we manage athletes, we do a lot of things. And in terms of what we do, it's all about impact. And much of the work is anchored in diversity, the power of diversity, the power of the diversity of thought, the power of the different perspectives people bring, the power of bringing people who are outside of the room, inside the room, to make sure that they're contributing to making better decisions across sport. So I'm really proud about the things that we've achieved and achieved in a short amount of time. There's a lot more for us to do. And that's all because we have great partnerships in place with individuals, organisations, to be able to drive things forward.
When you say you have a lot more things to do, I mean, from what you just said to me, it looked like a lot has been done already. I mean, I feel like what you did is a turning point for minority and black people. So you should really take great pride of that. I hope you are, because it's fantastic. But when you say there's a lot more work, more to do, can you tell me what areas, what exactly you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm certainly proud of the things I've contributed to and set up and driven. However, I don't think there's a world where I will ever be completely happy and rest on my laurels, because there will constantly be things that maybe we haven't seen as we've started the journey. So, for example, you know, we talk about the 43% of black players that make up that are part of the Premier League. But what we don't talk about is the lack of black players in the women's game, in the WSL and the Women's Championship. We should be talking about that some more, and we should be coming up with solutions and supporting the game to make sure that they're genuinely reaching out, engaging, developing talent from black communities. There are people in place who absolutely want to do that. And my view is that what's missing is some expertise, some engagement, and maybe a little bit of pressure to kind of push things to change. So that's certainly something that we weren't talking about as the football blacklist when we started way back in 2009, 2008. We weren't talking about the boardrooms then, or certainly not as much as we should do. You know, the fact that we have so little representation in the boardroom is worrying, because it suggests we are seen as a community as performers and athletes, but we're not seen as leaders and people who can drive an organisation. So that's a relatively new area that we're talking about, certainly talking about how we influence the actions in those places. So there are things that need to be done. There are many things that need to be done. Who's talking about the experience of black people with disabilities in football? That's not really on many agendas. So we have to make sure that while we're proud of the things we've contributed to and the positive change that we've been part of. And those journeys continue, by the way. They don't stop. We also have to recognize the areas that maybe we haven't done enough. And certainly I feel I can do a lot more in to be able to continue to be progressive and recognize people and ensure that we're pushing for genuine change and not change that just relates to our own positionality and our own personal experience. It's got to be bigger and wider than that. Otherwise, we're not genuinely working in a space where we're being representative of the situation and of the community situation if we're failing to do those things.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point what you're saying. So personally, yes, you're right. I think there's still some room of improvement. And I think that's gonna happen eventually. But I like that you were the turning point because obviously there were a lot of organizations, but I like the fact that you took it upon your hands to say, look, I'm not gonna accept this. I want to change. I want it now. And you actually, all of this that you do. I mean, I think I met you through Mimi Flowers. I believe. I think that's how I met you because I didn't know about you. And she said, "Oh yeah, no, no, Leon." And then a lot of people were asking. They said, "Oh, you know Leon?" I'm like, "Actually, I don't know him." And when I got to know you, I mean, you're so friendly, so open about ideas. You have a mission, you have a goal, and I feel like you have achieved a lot. And I like that the way you are. Like, there's still more to do. I like your discipline. Like, you're not gonna rest until this is done. So I personally feel like you've done a lot. Okay, let's just be real.
Well, look, that's really kind of you, and um, it's for others to say that, and not for me to say that. And if people feel I've done a lot, then I'm really grateful for the praise I receive. But like all of us, we're not doing this for praise, personal praise. We're doing this to see progress that we want to see, to ensure that the work that we're doing is left in a better position for the people that follow us. And that involves a lot of sacrifice. It involves a lot of hard work, which comes with anything, I believe, if you're doing it seriously. I don't care what you're doing. If you're doing it as well as possible, it involves hard work and sacrifice. But it involves being creative. It involves being resilient. It involves understanding how to manage when you're told no. No is part of everybody's journey. No, when I hear no, it's no, not right now. It's no, not forever.
Mm-hmm.
We also stand on the shoulders of many giants that come before us. So while I may be holding part of a baton for part of a journey now, somebody before me was fighting to make sure that I could step into an industry, have an opportunity to be able to have a voice heard and influence things. So I'm certainly one person who's part of many, many people who are pushing for change. And one day I will be passing things on to somebody else, or lots of different people, I'm sure, who will continue to push for things that maybe aren't on our radars right now, and will make things even better. And it will be a pleasure to witness and maybe be a part of that work. But for now, I'm very, very focused on how we move the here and now forward. And it's not easy. None of this work is easy. Nobody can bang the table and have things changed immediately. I don't care who you are or who you think you are. That just doesn't happen. This is about
Mm-hmm.
25 different discussions to move things forward. And that can be frustrating. But that is certainly part of what you have to deal with in this space. And to do that, you have to have great resilience, and you have to be strategic in terms of what you're trying to achieve. And we've seen many, many people and leaders do that in the past, and I'm certainly learning from them in terms of how you get things done.
Okay, fantastic. So you say you don't do this for personal praise, but then again, you received the MBEs. How does it feel to be recognized for all of that, what you do?
Yeah, I mean, look, when I received that, I was very, very happy for a number of reasons. Um, first and foremost, when my grandparents came to this country, and my grandma and grandfather came from Jamaica, my nan, as I would call her, came from Ireland, and then my granddad was very working class guy from England. None of those four, would have felt at that time in their lives that they would have been able to achieve receiving an award like this. And awards like this are important to them and that generation in particular, because of the society that they lived in and grown up in. So actually, because of the sacrifices those people made in my personal life, and the sacrifices my parents made, and the sacrifice my family makes, I'm able to be in a position to receive one of these awards, which is, highly respected by many parts of society. So making them happy was a big thing to me. Secondly, by accepting an award like this, I know that this helps me with the work that I'm trying to do. So if I write a letter as Leon Mann MBE, it can be received in a very, very different way to if it's written by Leon Mann. And I'm not saying that's right, by the way, but I'm just saying that's how society can function. So actually, I've been armed with an ability to further my work through this recognition. So those are two big reasons why I was particularly pleased, why I accepted the award. I understand there are complexities around accepting an MBE, an OBE. The late Benjamin Zephaniah, was famously quoted and famously took the decision to reject the opportunity to have one because of the word empire within the awards. And I've taken it upon myself to raise that as an issue as well while accepting the award, because I think you can replace the word empire with the word excellence, and I think it can be very meaningful to people who are accepting or rejecting the award in their decision, because we can't change history. That's what we can't change, but we can change words. We can absolutely change words. So it was a brilliant time to receive the award for me. It came at a time that the Black Lives Matter protests were happening. It came at a time when I was, really feeling the pressure of working in this space, which a lot of people in the EDI space will understand when I say that, because you're faced with a lot of people that don't understand this work, that don't believe that there is a need for this work, and genuinely believe that everybody is born and is equal, when actually history tells us that is not the case, because people are treated very differently based on their gender, based on color of their skin, based on their socioeconomic class, based on lots of different things. So actually, instead of avoiding that, I believe we need to recognize that, and we need to recognize how we begin to change things in society to mark and support those people who are at a disadvantage immediately before they've even opened their mouth.
Yes, fantastic. Three more questions, don't worry. I know you have somewhere to go. So in terms of racism in football, do you think that has improved, or you think it's getting worse, or you're not sure?
It's always a difficult question to answer, because has it got better since I started working in football? Yes, it absolutely has. Because when I started working in football, there was mass monkey chanting that took place towards England players when they played in certain parts of Europe. Does that still happen? Yes, it still does happen. Does it happen as often and in the same way? Probably not. There has been some change. How many black managers did we have when I started working in football 20 years ago? Not many. How many have we got now? Not many. Have things got better? A little bit better in that space. There's a lot more work to be done. As a football fan going to a game, has my experience changed as somebody who used to go to games as an 8-year-old with my dad? Absolutely. You know, I've been spat at. There's been racist slurs that have been said towards me and around me. You know, I've experienced these things as an individual. Not often, not every week, not every month, but these are things that have happened to me that generally don't happen to me now. So is that progress? Yes, it is. But is it slim pickings on progress? You know, someone listening to this who is maybe a lot younger would say, of course you shouldn't be racially abused. And how can you say it's progress to say that you're not being racially abused as a black fan going to a game? Well, it is progress, but it's not. It would be hard for people to understand it unless they had the context of living through the times of the 80s and 90s and before that. So it's difficult to answer that question because things, yes, have got slightly better. Some things have got markedly better, but we still have a lot of work to do. But the good thing is, we weren't talking about a lack of black managers or black board members or the experience of black fans. We didn't have black fan groups. We didn't have LGBT fan groups. We weren't talking about black people who were disabled. We weren't talking about disability, full stop. We weren't talking about women working in the game and their experiences. We weren't talking about any of this when I started my engagement with football. Now, those are prominent discussions, prominent things. We didn't have social media when I started out working in football. And while it brings a load of problems, of course it does, it's also brought a sense of building communities and seeing great young content creators, and not just young content creators, but content creators who are new to this industry and maybe don't get the platforms like the BBC and ITV and Sky Sports and TNTs and the newspapers of this world. So those are changes. So in summary, I would say, have we had changes? Yes, we have. Have we had enough change? No. But that's why we continue to fight hard and push hard and work with the good people that do exist within football to do things to a new place.
That's fantastic. I wanted to ask you, so you are a dad, you have children, you have a wife, I believe. How do you manage to juggle your work, your family, and your own time? Because I see you sometimes jogging in the morning and talking. Like, I feel like it's inspiring us in a way. How do you juggle all of this?
Look, you know, I mean, it's difficult, and I think any parent will connect with that because you're trying to do your best for your children, for your family. You're trying to make sure that your partner, your wife, your husband, whoever it might be, has an opportunity to strive and achieve their goals. So it's a constant balancing act of doing things. But I think if you are committed and able to plan these things as best possible and prioritize what's important, then you have a good chance of living a very positive life. Now, I say that knowing that I'm in quite a privileged and positive position at this time. When I look at single parents having to manage like their family, and they might not have resource in terms of they might not have the highest paying job, etc. That really does make it much more difficult to be able to go for a run in the morning, to be able to experience lots of different things. But the principle of looking after your family does not change. The principle of living a healthy life does not change. The principle of being ambitious does not change. But I think as a society, we can do a better job at helping to support people with those different challenges that they may face to be able to aspire to do whatever they would like to do, be that supporting their children to becoming top lawyers, top community leaders, whatever it may be. And that's why I've set up things with others like the Football Blacklist and Bcoms to be able to support people through those journeys and provide reference spaces and points where people can go, I would love to be a lawyer, but who's done this from a similar background and had a journey that I could follow, and who could I connect with who might understand the challenges I have. I would love to think that Bcoms and the Football Blacklist helps with those questions in a very practical way. And we're already seeing the fruits of the Football Blacklist work and Bcoms work. And there's so much more we can do and will do. So, when I'm doing my runs and things like that, I do like to jump on Instagram just to kind of like share some thoughts about positivity and about being productive and about being organized and also being honest. On some of those runs, I'll say I'm struggling this week. So I think it's important to be able to say that because my life isn't perfect. And the challenges that I have can be overcome, but it's not easy. And I'm not suggesting it's easy for anybody. And I think when I see content that actually talks to this is hard to do and this is how I push through, it can help me. And if I wake up in the morning and I'm really struggling mentally with something, and I see a positive message, then actually that can really raise my spirits to help me kickstart my day. And so I really value that content from others. So actually there are times when I think I am in a position of strength at times, so I should use that. I should use that. If I feel strong enough to be able to put something out there and be vulnerable or have a practical suggestion or share something positive and it helps one person, then actually I'm doing something positive that is making some sort of difference.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Before I ask you my last question, I want to say a big thank you for your time because I feel like I'm extra work for you, like an extra thing in the time. Thank you.
You're absolutely not an extra thing, and I hope you don't feel that way.
Thank you. As nice as always. The last question. Sorry?
Pleasure to speak to you, and thank you. You've been a volunteer for the Football Blacklist. You've given up your time. You've spent time helping with that work away from your family. So you've made a commitment. So you could have been doing anything at that time, but you chose to spend it helping the Football Blacklist. So, thank you for you.
Thank you. I hope I can come to another one. So please give me yeah? Thank you. Thank you for having me in advance. So my last question for you, Leon, what would you advise young people to follow you on your footsteps? So either as a journalist, as making sure you want to make some changes or setting up organization like you just did. So what would you advise them?
Well, first of all, create your own footsteps. So my footsteps are my footsteps. If they are helpful to anybody in terms of what I've been able to do, then that's great. But everybody's on their own journey. Someone might move much quicker than I have. So I'm 15 years into the Football Blacklist. Someone might do something that makes a huge impact within a year. It might take somebody else 30 years. It doesn't matter because you're on your own journey. So stop looking left and right what other people are doing and saying, I need to do it like this, or I'm behind, or I'm ahead. Have your own journey. Think about what is something that makes you happy, that's something that's positive, and something that you would love to do, particularly if you're in a place in your life where you don't have lots and lots of responsibilities at that time. So, for example, it can be difficult to do lots of things if you have 2 children, right? So if you are in a place where before you're having a young family, then you might think, right, you can take some more risks. Equally, I wouldn't like to say to anybody who has children, don't take risks. But I know it can be harder. So, think through what makes you happy. Because the greatest gift you can have, I believe, is getting out of bed on a Monday morning and doing something that makes you feel happy for work. Because if you can feel happy doing it, it doesn't feel so much like work. And it is work, and it is hard, and it's difficult, and there are challenges, even if you enjoy what you're doing. But I think it's a blessing to be able to do something that you really enjoy. And that's not about making money in my world. Some of my work does involve making money and pushing for the best deals in some commercial parts of my work, and that does make me happy. But some of my work is not about making money. It's about making an impact and about legacy and about turning up and trying to do something that makes the football industry better. And that really, really is something that I roll out of bed and I think, wow, aren't I lucky to be doing this? So think about how you can do something that makes you happy, because that'll be the foundation of your next few years and or decades of your life. And I think that's really important. Some people go into things that they think they should be doing, and I think they find themselves down dark holes because they actually work out that it's not making them happy, and they feel the sense of embarrassment about stepping away from it to be able to move into something different. I would always suggest to people, I know you've got bills to pay, and sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. And I've certainly done that in my life, from security jobs that I didn't enjoy to doing things in my career at the moment that are stressful and not enjoyable. But the majority of my work is very enjoyable, and I get to work with brilliant people on fantastic and things that I think are important. So, you know, make good decisions. I don't think anybody should ever have to tell anyone to work hard. That's the foundation of anything. If you're not prepared to work hard, you're not gonna get much done. Sacrifice is part of it. You're not going to be a superstar overnight necessarily. Don't believe the Hollywood movies. There isn't a golden ticket that you pick up and everything changes necessarily. Happens to some people, but you know, I don't buy lottery tickets because I don't believe that's going to be the thing that changes things. I do get out of bed and work as hard as I can, and I am honest with myself. And I think there are things that I do well, and there are things I need to improve on. When you need to improve on things, be honest, hone in, improve, and always try and keep as humble as you can be. I really believe that, you know, things can change in your life. It might be you get some more money. It might be people say nice things about you. Don't let that impact who you are. And always think of others first is my thing. Once you've established you're in a position of power to be able to do something, always think, what are you doing for others?
That's fantastic. I love everything that you said. So inspiring, so beautiful. It's exactly that. You wake up in the morning, you have to do something that makes you happy. Think about other people first, you know, other people interests. What can you bring? Somebody said to me, if you can impact somebody's life, one person, you've achieved a lot. And I think it's fair to say that you've impacted thousands, millions, I don't know, but a lot of people. So I want to say thank you for everything. Keep up the excellent work. We're going to be in touch. I hope I can see you one more time. So the next celebration for Blacklist, whenever that is, let me know. I'll be happy to come there and see you again, because it was fantastic. I loved it. So thank you so much, Leon. Enjoy your game tonight.
Thank you so much. Okay, take care.
Take care. Bye. Thank you.